Nintendo has just unleashed another stream of Nindies upon the world.
Nindies hot take. Nintendo showed off another big batch of Nintendo indie games, and we actually had a video very recently showcasing a bunch of the indie games that they showed off already.
Yeah.
That was from the European division of Nintendo.
So they were doing that so that they could do their Gamescom show, and a lot of those Nindies were in the Gamescom show floor.
Yes.
So that was the connection there. But now this is another Nindies presentation that's a little more
epic. I'm gonna say it's epic.
Epic and worldwide?
Yeah.
Did we see any epic games?
I'm not saying that the one previous wasn't good, because it was. There's a lot of cool stuff here, but personally, I'm more excited about the games they showed off today.
I think we have some bigger names, or some names that carry a little more oomph within the gaming, culture.
Yeah. So we're gonna just tell you about all the games we saw and discuss each and every one.
A little footnote?
Yeah.
For each?
Let's start off the top.
We're gonna start with the first one. This is a game I really love. This was Hyper Light Drifter. If you haven't played this game, it's a wonderful sort of mishmash of Zelda and something that's more that's combat oriented, that's a little slower in pace. Some people have said it's Souls-like, but I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. You do have to sort of wait, bide your time, maybe dash here or there. It's a very thought oriented, Zelda-ish game.
But as we mentioned previously in the last Direct, it's a 2D game. Like many of these 2D games, they have a better operation, they have a better chance of running far greater as a portable game and in cheaper processing requirements, which is something that really intensive 3D games require a lot more power to run. This is a game I always thought would be great on the Switch, and this is a great place to see it.
It's going to be wonderful to have handheld. There have been physical releases of this in the past, but they were kind of limited print runs, so I'm really hoping that we get a physical release of this that's a little more, there's more out there, because I want to pick one up.
Yeah, it's definitely a game worth playing. Now the next one, super excited about.
Started on the Ouya.
Yeah, Towerfall. Now, Adam and I both played this on the Ouya originally, and it was the reason to get an Ouya.
It was, actually.
Yeah, as sad as that is. Now, just because we're saying Ouya a lot, that doesn't mean that you should be getting it on the Ouya. Don't buy an Ouya. Please,
you can buy mine.
Yeah, maybe you can put that up for sale somewhere. Towerfall is available on every other platform right now, but I've always wanted to see it on the Switch, because this is a game that is it's a multiplayer fun fest.
Yes, it's just shouting. You play with 4 to 6 people. You need to play this with 4 to 6 people.
Yeah.
What genre would you say this is? It's like a tournament, a one-screen tournament style.
Yeah, it's basically a kind of game where it's a multiplayer fest. Yeah. It's one of those things where a bunch of people start up. The modes are really quick and very fast paced. You're only playing a single screen for maybe a minute, if even a minute.
I think what's great about this game, in one word that this game is all about, is simplicity.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, you have one screen, you have a few platforms and things, and there's only a couple of moves that you can actually do in Towerfall, I believe. It's not that complex.
What's interesting about Towerfall is that there are some movements that you can do that can always knock somebody out, like stepping on their heads and stuff like that. But traditionally, when I've seen games try to take this approach, so it's a bunch of people on a screen attacking each other until there's only one left.
Yeah.
The fun thing about this is that you don't have infinite ammo, okay? You only have 3 shots. You can pick up a bunch of arrows from other people that have shot them, which adds a little bit of strategy to the mix. And overall, it's a really fun, action-packed experience. Yep. Having this on a Switch, on a table somewhere with a bunch of friends out in public, this is going to be the game that people are going to be playing in at conventions and stuff like that. These are the kind of games I always expected to see kind of blow up in tournaments and stuff, and see championships happen out of, but we haven't seen them. Now, seeing it available on the Switch, and seeing as how Switch has had this really great approach to indie game development, I really feel like this is going to be one of those games that blow up a lot more on the Switch than ever before.
Yeah, the Ouya was a whisper in the wind, and seeing this on the Switch, especially being seen so close to the beginning of this presentation, it seems like they're really trying to get word out.
Absolutely.
And we are seeing a couple of additions, some new modes, as well as new characters. We're getting characters from Celeste as well, 2 characters from Celeste.
Yes, so, which is cool. I like seeing a bunch of Towerfall is a really cool game. The characters don't really do much. They just look a little bit different. But I would really like to see more characters like that, because I like the indie scene kind of working together and celebrating each other's characters and stuff.
We see that more and more nowadays.
Now the next game is called Treasure Stack, and Treasure Stack looked very similar to. I think it was a Bomberman game.
You said Bomberman, and the first thing that popped into my mind was there's a panic bomber, I think, on the Virtual Boy, which is a draw. I don't know if it reminded me of that. I couldn't exactly. I was the dude writing while this is all going on, so I'm like, like trying to watch and write at the same time.
But there definitely was. There was a puzzle game I'd seen that was very similar to that. This one looks to be a little bit more fluid. There seems to be a different kind of mechanic situation going on there. But I think if you're a fan of games like Columns, if you're a fan of games like Puyo Puyo, it's got that same kind of feel to it. You're not looking at tetrominoes, but what's cool about this is you have a character that's like on the screen on the time, and you're basically running around doing all that kind of stuff. Wario's Woods, maybe. You know,
in Wario's Woods, were you Toad running around in Wario's Woods?
I think you were. I think
so.
Right? So I think it's got that. I think there's going to be some classic Nintendo fans out there that love games from the past like that are going to really appreciate this one.
The next game is Zarvot, and all I have written down is what? Bananas? Birthday present?
Yeah.
October.
I don't really know what we were looking at there. It seemed to be very hyper-visualized, but like simple designs.
3D assets. The view is isometric.
Yeah.
Seemed like a battler. I don't know if it was in the same sort of vein as a one-screen battler like Towerfall.
I don't know.
Where it's like a competition.
The most detailed thing I saw was a giant banana.
And they just kept throwing out nouns. And like I didn't know exactly what was going on.
This one worries me. Now, see, this is the problem when it comes to indie game development. It's very difficult for people that actually sell the indie games or know how to describe them.
Yeah.
So more often than not, when you see a trailer for these kind of games, they might not be selling you on the concept well enough, and that's really a marketing issue. This one, clearly, I don't think it established really what it was trying to be.
The messaging wasn't there. Within the first like 10 seconds, you should know what the game's about, I think, or else you're going to lose your audience. And heck, that's what happened, right? But we'll have to see more to really put our stamp on it one way or another. Okay, next was Minico's Night Market?
Yes.
Okay.
You're farming cats. Not at a cat farm like what those are like in real life. You literally Cabbage Patch, pick up a cat from a farm.
Cat cabbages. So this game revolves completely around cats. You're growing cats, you're harvesting cats.
You're racing cats.
There was no blood. Yes, you're racing cats, and it seems like you're kind of there's some questing involved as well. It looked like there's some.
You said there's no blood. There was clearly somebody cutting like meat up at a stall, and I didn't know if they were cutting up a cat. Like you'll see at the very beginning. I saw it there. It freaked me out. I was like, are they actually like eating cats in that scene or something?
Everything revolves around cats.
There's a big mixture of art styles here. We were something that was very similar to Akame.
Yes, Okamiden. There was a section. It looked like a 2D side-scrolling section. I don't know what section of the game that's in. We did also see other things like harvesting, like ore and stuff like that. So I was getting some sort of Harvest Moon vibes from it.
I really couldn't I didn't really understand what it was by looking at this game, but the art style seems to be very well done. Like they look like they put a lot of time into this.
Yes, it looks like something from an old like a 60s children's book or something, which was very cool.
Now, this game I'm crazy excited about.
Yeah.
Samurai Gun 2.
So we were in a room with a few people, and Shane was the only person to go, oh, yeah!
Okay.
And we were like, what?
Samurai Gun I originally played on Steam. It is very similar to Towerfall. The idea is that your character has a sword. And you can attack with a sword as much as you want, but you have a gun with a single bullet in it, and then you can only use it once. It's like I said, very close to what Towerfall is, but it's very fast, very quick gameplay, beautiful art style. The game was not very popular when it came out, and the price in the game never lowered. Like it seemed to always be at a very expensive price. And when Towerfall came out, it never really got everybody interested. At the time that it was released on PC, it was a multiplayer game, local only, so you couldn't play the game online with people, which I think really prevented people from really exploring the game and having fun with it. So the game was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, but it definitely is something I was looking forward to. Having this on the Switch is what makes it so exciting to me, because now you can take it around and play it just like Towerfall.
Yeah, to me, the Switch is the couch co-op machine. Like it's perfect, and then you can take it and go away from your couch. You can go to your garden, party or to your bar, and you can play video games with other people.
Yes.
And these sorts of games are wonderful experiences for that. It looked like you had some stylistic sort of like deaths and stuff, like with your sword swipes, where the screen would like go black.
It would go black. Like basically, whenever you attack somebody, the game would actually pause and it would just show you that happen. It was really cool.
So you really get that like oomph with your strikes.
See, Towerfall's really quick, and the deaths are not highlighted or anything. With Samurai Gun 2, unless you did the last one, then it kind of does a replay. Samurai Gun 2 is all about those instant kills, and people just go like, ooh, ah, while it's happening. It is a really, really cool game, and I'm so excited to see a sequel. I hope that this means that Samurai Gun 2 also hopefully includes the first game in it as well too, because I think that would be a great thing for people to have. I don't think that game got enough credit, and it definitely is. If I'm gonna say it, it's a hidden gem. It's a hidden gem on Steam. How often does that happen?
Oh, very cool. So that's why, like, Double Fine. You said that Double Fine may not have been involved with the original game.
I do not believe they are. But yeah, now Double Fine, I guess, is producing this one, whatever it may be.
Maybe like you, they saw this game and they saw something incredible in it, and perhaps they scooped up the team and said, "Hey, do it again and do something a little bit different, and we'll help you out."
Good work, Tim Schafer. That's one to have. I mean, that's gonna if people play this one, and I think if they do a good enough job with marketing it, I think this may have a chance to be more popular than Towerfall.
Yeah,
both games are good though.
Yeah, I still feel like there is no like real king of this genre yet. In my opinion, it's Duck Game, but that's not announced, so we're not going to talk about that. Okay, next was Bullet Age.
Yeah,
and Bullet Age went by super duper quick, so we don't have a lot of the details on it. The one thing that we did kind of say was that it had a very particular art style that reminded us of
Scribblenauts.
Yeah.
It kind of had a very specific look like that. It seemed to be a pretty basic platforming game that had some elements of like item collecting and stuff like that with certain boss battles. It didn't look bad. It didn't really. Nothing really jumped out at me as something unique.
Of the games we've spoken about so far, that's probably like on the lower end as far as my excitement's concerned. The art style itself, I'm not a huge fan of, but hey, whatevs. Yeah. Okay, next we have The World Next Door. So The World Next Door was that puzzle game that at the very beginning, to me, I thought it was going to be a visual novel. It does seem to have those elements when the characters are speaking and stuff, but the totality of the game seems like a rune-based puzzle game where you're attacking folks.
With the puzzle sequences.
Yeah, you're casting spells based upon which runes you go over, which is a cool idea. But you had a very...
Well, from what I saw there, I couldn't really tell you what the puzzle was there. It's like if you showed somebody Puzzle Quest or Tetris, you can see what the puzzle is. You can kind of understand what you're doing there.
Treasure Stack.
Exactly.
We saw Treasure Stack and we knew, okay, you stack things this way and then you can, you can make your line.
Yeah, I couldn't really get what I was seeing there. It seems to be something that was a matching symbol or rune game. I'm not 100% certain. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The art style is clearly there. It looks like there's a narrative, which is not a very common thing. I mean, the narratives I have seen in Puzzle Quest and stuff like that, but I've never seen one that kind of looked like that. It looks
more of a visual novel.
Yeah, visual novel kind of aesthetic to it. I'm interested in it. I want to take a look at it, but that's not one that really jumped out at me right away.
Hey, know what we don't need on the Switch anymore?
What?
Mario Maker. Because we have Level Head now.
Yeah. This one...
I'm lying.
Yeah, okay. So this one definitely
doesn't look bad.
It doesn't look bad, but again, this is one of those things where the presentation can sometimes not work for the game. It's really loud, it's really fast, but it didn't really describe a lot of the things that was going into the game. And if it did, it was really quick. And it was trying to overlay everything with a joke, which was, it kind of works, it kind of doesn't. I hope that this isn't a game that's trying to become way too many things and isn't the master of any one thing. Like, what makes Samurai Gun good, what makes Towerfall good, is just a simple idea that it's very good at. Instead of trying to be a billion things at once. Like, Towerfall could probably benefit from a stage builder, but it's not in there because it's trying to focus on making, like, a couple levels really good rather than trying to make a billion levels really good.
I think what they are focusing on, and what I heard a couple times, was building and sharing levels. So that looked fine. Like, your editor tools looked okay. It reminded me very much of Mario Maker. But like the art style, I didn't really dig all that much. And then the actual platforming itself. And
well, that's just the thing, right?
Collecting diamonds.
Does it matter if you can build levels again and again if the gameplay itself doesn't really stand out? If you
don't enjoy it, again, like we can't come to a conclusion just from watching a 20-second trailer. But to me, if I'm going to choose Mario Maker or this,
if Mario Maker happens to come out on the Switch, it's going to hurt this. Right, and that's the problem, right? Games like this exist for now, so if you're really interested in playing it, now's the time to get into it, like as soon as it comes out, because if Mario Maker does come out on the Switch, it's going to bury a game like this, so you got to be very careful.
Yeah.
So the next one that we saw was
King of the Hat, and King of the Hat was a moment, a very clear moment during the Nindies Direct that we all kind of looked at each other and had a bit of a sigh.
Yeah.
Do you remember why?
Because it looked like Towerfall, it looked like Samurai Gun without the hardcore pixelization that we saw in the other ones.
Okay. We're getting too many of these games. Maybe not in the video game spectrum as a whole, though that's debatable, but in this Nindies Direct. Like, why are you focusing on
Yeah, well, like the kind of the same game style.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Especially considering what comes later.
yeah, right. So Towerfall, right? They showed off Towerfall, and we've seen Towerfall before, right? They showed off a sequel to Samurai Gun 2, which is exciting because there has been another Samurai Gun game. But this one is just a standalone title. It doesn't look like it's as violent as the other two titles, clearly.
Yeah.
But it's basically that same kind of gameplay aesthetic, and I don't know if it's going to be able to breathe in the same room with those two giants.
Right.
I mean, you've got one that's an indie darling that not many people know about. You've got the other one that's far more popular and was the defining factor to many people to buy a specific console.
Yeah.
So that against that, I just don't know if it's going to work.
I don't know if there's a specific age rating on those other games, and maybe this one comes in a bit lower, and that is like maybe the case scenario where like a parent buys this for their kids or something.
That's true. Yeah.
But to me, this is like, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary in how it was shown in the Nindies Direct because there are other titles to be spoken about.
Yes,
And
which we are definitely going to talk more about.
getting
in
to
a sec.
those.
So,
Yeah.
Untitled Goose Game.
Untitled Goose Game. As soon as we saw it, I was like, yes, this is Metal Gear with a goose. So it's a sneaking game. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating with the Metal Gear thing, and people have been saying it for forever since this game was first shown off. Untitled Goose Game is a sneaking game where your whole mission is to just mess with people in a town. You're stealing keys from a farmer, you're messing with his crops, you're going into town and just like whatever, taking sandwiches. It looks adorable. The art style is very
Beautiful art style.
yeah. Again, this is an isometric sort of perspective. And yeah, it's kind of a puzzle game, it looks like. Maybe you have to do this to open a door or do that, and maybe to proceed. We haven't seen a heck of a lot of this game, but this is one of the games I'm more excited about on this list.
So now that we've gone through that, this is the interesting part here. At the very end, they had this rapid feature where they just talked about a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Now,
it was like
I'm a little confused here. There's some games we already talked about that seem to be like interesting games, but they didn't really. I don't think there's a couple games they clearly showed there that didn't really seem to need to be talked about in a great extent.
If you could tell by our assessments of them, there's some that we.
So the first game we saw was Desert Child. This looked like a very nice, quick, kind of like. I really don't know how to explain the gameplay because they didn't really show much of it, but it seems to be kind of like a jet motorbike type of thing, 2D kind of graphics. It's a very like heavily pixelized type of looking game as well too. Couldn't really tell you too much about that. I would have liked to see more of that game because it seemed to be more of the same kind of visual style that you would have seen with Hyper Light Drifter.
A lot of these games I would have liked to have seen more of, even if they are games that were already released, just to like tell us a little bit more about the functionality they're going to have with the Switch. Because a lot of these are exciting because maybe these are the first time they're handheld.
Okay, well that's a great example. Wasteland 2. So Wasteland 2 is a Kickstarter project. I'm actually one of the Kickstarters or backers for that project.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I backed that because I was a big fan of Fallout, and I liked knowing where Fallout came from, the original Wasteland. So this is basically the sequel that they had made all that time ago. There was a new version of the game that came out. I believe this is going to be the new version, but it was only 2 seconds of it, right?
And this is an enormous RPG.
Yeah. So this is like, we don't have a lot of really large expanding RPGs on the Switch, so this is probably one of the first ones. To see it only get like 2 seconds of talk is kind of crazy. Now, Bastion was also announced. Again, let's just do both of them, Bastion and Transistor.
Yeah, so that's Supergiant games?
Yeah.
Supergiant games. These guys make some really, really cool games. They take some sort of gaming ideas that have existed and then kind of update them and bring their own sort of spin to them with wonderful art styles. Bastion, it was kind of a Diablo-ish kind of feeling isometric game that was driven by a wonderful narration.
Absolutely.
The story was really great.
Good soundtrack, too.
Great weapons, and again, it was like just a flash in the pan in this direct. And then, of course, there is Transistor.
Now, Transistor originally came out on the Vita, right?
I think it did have a Vita release.
I mean, we could be wrong on that front, but it's just like, again, these games are visually impressive. They were... Now, I understand maybe they don't want to talk about those completely because they've come out on other systems, but I still think they're warranted because some of these just never saw a release previously in portable form. So what's funny is Undertale. Undertale was just like 2 seconds. They just showed Undertale briefly. You would think that would make a much bigger impact. There's a lot of gamers out there that still love Undertale and have always wanted to play Undertale on their Switch.
Yeah, the thing that popped into my head was that they were like, we're going to show Undertale for a split second because everyone's going to talk about Undertale and we don't have to.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, it just deserves more. It did have a release on the Vita, so we did have the, take it with you.
Yeah.
But Undertale on the Switch seems like a no-brainer to me. It's a game that has a huge fan base. Maybe some people are tired of the memes or whatever, but whatever. Toss all that aside. It's still a fantastic game.
Now, we also saw The Messenger, right?
The Messenger. Update me.
The Messenger was basically, it looked like kind of Ninja Gaiden. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is I think that was on the last Direct, or we've seen it recently somewhere.
Was it on the last Direct?
I don't remember.
A trailer was released for this game. You and I were watching it, and we're
cool.
like, man, this looks great.
Yeah, right?
8-bit style game. Feels
you know what, it was probably just on a Reddit post that we saw.
Yeah, I think it was just a trailer, but it kind of gave me the Shovel Knight vibe with the colors and the 8-bit style. It's 8-bit that you wouldn't be able to play this on an NES or whatever.
Exactly,
but,
right?
Yeah,
but then it turns at the end of the trailer, it turns into 16-bit, but you didn't get to see any of that on there because they basically had this incredibly short little
flash in the
thing.
pan.
Now, Jack in the Box Party Pack 5. This is actually pretty exciting to me because one of the biggest problems I've had with playing Jackbox with friends is that we basically have to be near a TV. With the Switch, we can take the Switch anywhere we want. Maybe we can use the controls, but we don't know any of that because they basically didn't show anything.
Dude. I'm just realizing now how exciting that is.
Yes.
Like being able to take your Switch with you, and then I'm assuming you can hook your phones up to it like you could with the PS4, but we don't know.
We don't know. Well, see, that's the problem though. The original Jackbox games require you to be online to an active service because you have to log on and
to a website,
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if they actually give you the ability to actually play the game just with like the buttons and stuff on the controllers, that would make a big difference because it would be the first time that game would be playable in a portable way. Like the idea that was just a 2-second thing is a little shocking to me. Like there should be a lot more conversation going on there.
So yeah, you'd be hooking this up to like your Wi-Fi signal on your phone, and then also maybe accessing websites. We're assuming that this is an amazing. These are, because there's so many of them.
Yes.
The Jackbox Party Packs. They are amazing, like party games where you just like whatever, eat pizza, chill with your friends, and just like have fun.
Now, to be fair, there might be some Jackbox party games that don't work with multiple controllers like that because they don't actually just have the button input for answering. But basically, the problem is there's some games on there that have drawing. There's some games that use your cell phone in some specific ways, right?
Right.
That would be the games that wouldn't work. But Jack, you don't know Jack by itself, that one specific entry in the party pack, that could definitely be a game that would work with the controls, and I think that would be a great way to play it.
Yeah, the one thing is though, I think what really works for Jackbox Party Packs as a whole is that there's just so many different experiences. So like, oh, I'm tired of this game, I want to try this other game. If they only focus on one style of gaming, I don't think that's going to be very effective.
And what was the last one?
The last one was Dragon Marked for... no, it's not there. We don't know what the game is.
The last game they showed really wasn't that impressive. It was the game after that they showed that everyone was talking about, and that was Into the Breach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Into the Breach actually is a game I'm very excited about. I still haven't played it, but this is from the same company that made I think it's Subset Games. They made FTL. Beautiful game if you've never played FTL.
Yeah.
I still want FTL on the Switch. But Into the Breach is a beautifully interesting looking game, and this is going to be the first time it's going to be portable.
Yeah,
right, for a lot of
I'm
gamers.
going to use a word we haven't heard yet today. It's isometric.
Yeah,
and it feels a little bit like a turn-based RPG. A little bit reminded me a little bit of Advance Wars in a way.
It's got that look to it.
It has roguelike elements to it, just like FTL. It's one of those games where you like.
You're going to be hooked on
just
it.
one more run.
Yeah,
just
exactly,
one more
right.
run, and
you're going to die a lot.
The matches are so quick, right?
Now, after all of that,
I can't believe I don't have the name of that game.
doesn't matter.
Someone in the
After all
comments correct me.
Yeah, like 17,000
I was
people
writing
said.
like this.
Okay, at the end of that, there was a couple of other things that we saw. A Sword and Sorcery was shown off.
Oh yes, yeah, we missed that.
And like, these games are cool. We've seen them before. It's just there's not a lot to say about them because they didn't show much of them. But Sword and Sorcery originated on iOS, so it's interesting to see such an old iOS game, actually one of the first big iOS game titles to ever be announced. it's being shown off on the console. That game traditionally is like played with a touchscreen. There are physical controls on the other releases, but I still believe that that's a game that utilizes the touchscreen the best.
Yeah.
So on the Switch, that's probably the best way you're going to get it on a home console. That being said, there's also Lightfinger, but all of these games, they're all indie. So Nintendo seems to be focusing on making a new channel for indie games on the Switch that's going to have documentaries and interviews and showcasing new games and explaining what they are. And that's a big deal, folks.
Yeah,
like that's never really happened from any other game company before.
They're focusing heavily on development, and for folks like us or anyone that's interested in gaming, this could be really, really cool. It's almost like, remember when they used to have those sort of like intimate Nintendo interviews?
Yeah.
With the president of Nintendo at the time, and they would ask them, "Oh, how's development going? How does the game play?" Yada, yada, yada. I hope it's in that same vein as those.
So what I basically saw here, which I'm really excited about, is the idea that they're going to be doing this forward approach to getting people more interested into the indie scene itself. Now, Nintendo has struggled for the past couple of years. We've all seen that. Nintendo has got a major success with the Switch right now, and if they drop it, because here's the thing, many of these games we just talked about, they're not really exclusives. A lot of them can be found on other platforms right now. It's not like they're getting them even first run. But if the Nintendo Switch is a portable indie game system with an active presence for buying indie games, it can just be like iOS. There are a lot of people that have Android phones right now, more people that have Android phones than Apple phones, but Apple consistently has more digital sales. If the Nintendo Switch can be that for indie games, it's going to be a big deal.
As well, having quality control that's a bit tighter than some of the phone-related storefronts would be wonderful as well. This kind of feels to me like it's taken off a little bit where the Vita left off.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree.
We're getting some JRPG stuff. Grandia was announced. We're getting some indie stuff. It very much feels like that Vita console to me. And then we get some like proper Nintendo titles as well, the AAA stuff.
Yeah. So, folks, there's a lot of big stuff here. I really feel that if Nintendo can focus on indie game development forward and make it the indie platform to be on, it can have a big impact on the Switch into the future. Even if Nintendo kind of falters on releasing their own games, they can have an indie presence that is unrivaled by anyone else. And look, Microsoft is trying to do the exact same thing with the Xbox One platform. They have the indie development scene on Xbox.
Right.
Sony seems to be a little bit wavering on that. They do have some indie games on there, but they're trying to make the indie games that are on the platform look like exclusive large titles when they're really not.
Yeah,
and this is treating them more like what they are.
We're not getting a Nindies announcements, like bulk announcements for some of the indie games that are coming to those systems. So we're not aware of them.
Exactly.
We're aware of these because of how Nintendo's announcing these.
Microsoft in the past had done this, and they actually had a lot of success talking about indie games. But
the Xbox Live, Indie Arcade.
I would love to see Microsoft do this exact same thing. I'd love to see Sony do this exact same thing. And currently, not just like they did in the past, they've got their YouTube presence and they have their blogs and stuff. But I really feel this is great for the indie community as a whole when all these companies are paying so much close attention to indie games. But folks, what do you think? Are you excited about these indie games? Are they games that actually would excite you to buy them on the Switch? Or do you already own them, or are you not interested in them at all? Let us know what you think in the comments below.